All right, my friends, we are in my kitchen again today, and we are making this recipe for our yeast bread unit called At Home Malt Pretzels. This was originally found from allrecipes.com, and then I have some optional recipes to go with this that I'll also link, and that is two different options for caramel sauces for dipping if you would like, or a pretzel cheese sauce recipe if you would like. So let's get started. We're going through and we need yeast. So the yeast that I have is actually a on our recipe is that the amount of yeast is 1 1/8 of a teaspoon. So 1 1/8 of a teaspoon. If you don't have a 1/8 teaspoon, that's half of 1/4. So you just kind of eyeball it. But it's less than a packet. Okay, so it's actually, she said, about half a packet of this, which is 1 1/8. So you don't want to just dump this whole packet in with your yeast measurement. You actually have to measure the amount. So I am going to take a large bowl here. I'm going to use a glass bowl. Sorry for all of that noise. There we go, so that you can see. And I'm going to put my dry active yeast down here in the bottom. And this is powdered, and the yeast is dormant, and I need for it to wake up. So what I am going to have to do to wake this up is give it a little bit of food. So I'm going to put my tablespoon of brown sugar. And then I also need to wake it up with some warm water ready to go here. And what I'm going to do to wake this yeast up is go ahead and also put my salt in here. So I have a tiny little measurement of half a teaspoon of salt. I'm gonna throw that in. Okay, and then I am going to put my warm water in. And Audrey, can you grab me a spatula from?
Yes. Does it matter what kind?
I need a rubber scraper kind.
Okay.
Yes, that one's perfect. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to give this a stir and dissolve that yeast in. And here's the thing about making things with yeast. It takes patience. Everything with yeast takes time. So in Culinary 1, you guys did a unit on quick breads. And quick breads, delightfully named, are quicker than yeast breads. Yeast breads take all your patience of trying to get time to be, you get to like put the leavening agent in, it rises right away, you throw it in the oven, you're good to go. Yeast breads, we have to wait for the natural yeast in this to activate and start to grow and do its thing. So here is the liquid that I have set up. And I'm going to actually move you guys that are on my webcam like this. And while this is sitting and starting to get some bubbles in it, let's talk about our other ingredients. So this recipe calls for a mixture of flours. Now, most often at your house, you have all-purpose flour. Okay, and all-purpose flour is totally acceptable to use in this, but what's different about different flours is the amount of protein in each flour. So this all-purpose flour will work just fine, but what you'll notice in this recipe is it tells you to use 1.5 cups of all-purpose, and then it tells you to use 1/2 cup of bread flour. So there's an increased protein content in bread flour, which is what makes it different from all-purpose flour. And so that is something that I already measured in this bowl here. Excuse me. And it's already mixed all-purpose and bread flour. Now, if you don't have bread flour at home, that's okay. You can just use all-purpose, and that'll be just handy. Is a little bit of vegetable oil, and this isn't listed in the ingredients. And that's because I need a bowl that I'm gonna let my dough rise in, and I'm gonna want to oil that bowl a little bit so that the dough doesn't stick to it. So while I am, again, letting that kind of bubble up, and there's no exact measurement here, I'm just gonna pour a little bit of vegetable oil in. just sort of use my hands to like, oops, oil the bowl. Coming up the sides because my dough is gonna grow inside of this bowl. So I'm just gonna go ahead, and the inside of my bowl is oiled. Yeast is starting to get a weird kind of foamy, bubbly top. I'm gonna go ahead and mix this up a little bit. Doing good. And then I'm gonna go ahead and dump in my flour and form a dough. All right, so I am going to take my oiled bowl, put my dough in it, and I am going to cover it with plastic wrap and let it rise. So again, that just takes some patience. Okay, so now I'm gonna either put this in the fridge if I want to go overnight, or it can sit on my counter. I am going to talk about, all right guys, so my dough has been rising, and I'm ready to do the next step in our pretzel recipe. So I want to go ahead and take this out, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to knead it again on a lightly floured surface. So I'm going to put some flour out here. And then what I'm going to do is, the first thing I want to do is punch the dough down.
Can I try?
Yeah, okay, so what we've got is our dough here. Okay, and I'm going to knead it a little bit. And then
and if you look closely, you can see that, like, I can see that wherever my mom's like kneading it, it's basically picking up all the flour.
Right.
Which is why you only want to do a little sprinkle, because you don't want too much flour.
Right, you don't want a ton of flour. So we are just kind of kneading this a little bit, and then what I'm gonna do is form it into kind of a little bit of a log, okay? And then...
Doesn't have to be a pretty one, just a log.
Right, it's... okay, and I want to divide this into 6 equal sections if I can.
I can do that.
Okay, so
It's happy because it
let me
gets to
see.
cut.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is divide the dough in half. Halves are always easiest to work with. So now I know that I need to do each of these pieces into thirds, basically. So I'm just going to kind of take this and divide it as equally as I can.
Can I do that one?
Here. Now do this one right there. This plastic dough scraper isn't as good as my metal one, but the metal one is dirty right now. Okay, so now I've got 6 equal balls of dough. And then when you're making a yeast recipe, there's another term that you might not be super familiar with, and it's called a bench rest. And what's gonna happen is, before we form this dough, since we did some more kneading, we're gonna let this rest for 10 minutes so that it has a little time for that gluten to kind of calm down and let us shape. All right, so I'm gonna set a timer for 10 minutes and then we'll be back. Okay, so it's been 10 minutes and we let our dough bench rest. That's already been separated into 6 sections of dough. But what we need to prepare is our baking soda bath. for these pretzels. So what we're going to be doing is in here is some warm water, and in the recipe it tells us to use about a cup in an 8 by 8 inch pan, but my pan is 9 by 13, so it's a little bigger, so there's a little more water than that. So I'm just going to kind of do a heaping tablespoon of baking soda in there and give it a stir. And this is what's going to create the texture of the outside of like a pretzel. Okay, so that's what this bath does. Now, while we are getting these ready, we're also going to talk about some of the options you have for coating your pretzels. So I also have some melted butter here. Okay, I have 2 batches of pretzels, so I did a whole stick that I'm going to be brushing my pretzels with. And then I have a variety of options here. I have kosher salt, which if you ever buy this in the grocery store, it is labeled kosher salt. They're just bigger grains of salt. And then I have sea salt. You could use that. I have some fancy crystal sugar. I also have some white truffle salt and some regular pretzel salt that I have from a pretzel kit that I bought. There's rosemary salt, lemon rosemary salt that I've got, and chili lime.
Yeah, chili lime.
So you can get really creative with this. You can use cinnamon sugar. There's all kinds of things. You can Parmesan on top. There's lots of stuff that you could put on top of your pretzels. But we're going to go ahead and get started here. So we're going to take our piece of dough, and I'm going to do one while Audrey's also doing one here. Or so you can take that one. And what you want to do is put this on the counter, and we're trying to roll this in to a 2 to 3 foot rope. Now you and I are going to run out of space, so hold on. Let me see if I can kind of move over here.
Mine's not rolling. I don't know why.
All right. Well, you might need some help. Here, why don't you work on the same one with me? Okay. Here, same time. Forward, back. Okay. And we are trying to get, oops, I need more space. Hold on. I need my baking soda bath. All right, here we go. Wait. Forward, back, forward, back, forward, back. There we go. All right, let's see. Keep going. All right, more. Why don't you put your hand on this spot that's kind of thick? Forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, forward, back. All right, we've got this really, uh-oh, I lost a piece here. Hold on.
Baking doesn't just turn into something delicious. It becomes fun and disastrous.
Well, it can.
On the
All
way.
right, all right. I'm going to put my hands here. You put your hands here. Let's get this side a little skinnier.
It's like we're trying to be dancers and being
I
symmetrical.
know. All right, so we have our long rope here.
I feel like it's gonna
Okay.
break. I literally
And
feel
well,
like
it's a little thicker than a pencil, and we're going to twist it. Watch out, let go. We're going to twist it into a pretzel shape. So the way that I do that is I give it a twist. Well, here's like one twist. Okay. So here is my pretzel shape. Oh, I feel like I didn't really get you guys to see that. Here we go. Yeah, maybe I could tempt the camera a little more. There we go. Well, now we're a little crooked. Well, you know. All right, so what we've got is this pretzel shape, and then I've got my baking soda solution, and then close by, I've also got a cookie sheet lined with parchment paper ready to go. So I'm gonna take this and dip it into my baking soda solution, and let that kind of get covered. Pull it right back out, and it can go onto my cookie sheet that's ready to go, and it's going to need to rest again for 10 minutes.
A lot of resting.
Yeah, this dough is, you would think that this dough did all the work, huh? All right, so I'm going to move this so that we can keep rolling the rest of the pretzels, and we'll show you the whole cookie sheet. I'll butter and salt them. And so what I'm going to do is pop these into my preheated oven, which is heated to 450 degrees for 8 to 10 minutes. I'm going to check them at 8. What I'm looking for is some golden brown color. All right, I'll show you when they come out.